Hello all, this is your Professor Ian. This is a short video I'm recording to talk through essay number 2. So let me go there. This is basically what the course looks like. If you click on instructions for essay number 2, it takes you to the page with the instructions. So for essay number 2, this is we're going to be putting into practice a lot of the text we've been reading in this part of the course and the second part of the course too, because you can definitely use a lot of those courses on cognitive biases and discourse communities and so on and so forth. You're also more than welcome to find other material, right? Remember, you want to use good material, so don't go on to like answers.com or something like that. You do need to find good sources, but as you can see from the sources I've been using, you don't necessarily have to find an academic article. Those are useful, but doesn't necessarily have to come from that kind of source. It has to be good though. Anyways, as I note here, this paper will require you to combine many of the ideas we've been talking about for the first 3 quarters of the course. Again, especially in the first and second part of the course, but going all the way back to the first. We're going to be using something called Stasis Theory to organize and write this paper. Now, if you watched the concept quiz already, you'll know a little bit more about stasis theory. Stasis theory is an ancient Greek, mostly legal system or method to reach agreement. So 2 parties would go through these steps, right, to agree. It's kind of like a progression of aspects about a case in the legal sense, to which 2 parties would agree. So, okay, we agree there is a problem. We agree. We define the problem together. We talk about the causes of the problem. We talk about the quality of the problem, and then try to reach solutions together. And so there's this, as you go through the steps, it gets more and more, I guess you might say, abstract, right? You're laying the groundwork at first with this, okay, is there a problem? What is the problem? Let's define it, right? Let's say my neighbor and I are arguing because his sheep keep getting into my house. Okay, there's a problem here. So what is the problem? Let's define it. Okay, there's sheep. They're coming in. They're doing X kind of damage. This is a problem because, my family doesn't like it. They bit my baby. I don't know. Whatever the problem is, defining the problem. What's the cause? Okay, let's get to the cause. Well, your fence, you don't have a fence. Your fence is broken around your house. But the neighbor might say, well, yes, but it's your river that's eroding my fence, right? And so we discuss the cause, and then the quality, well, whose fault is this? And then, the solution, right? So anyways, you can see how it could be like a legal strategy for 2 parties to come to agreement. It's still kind of, something similar is used in a lot of civil cases where you decide on who is liable for damages and such. And first there has to be established that there is damages, who caused the damages, what the quality of the damages are, right? So you can see how this is a very logical and, almost common sense kind of way of thinking through a problem. It's a nice structure, and it's a great way to structure a paper like this, an exploratory paper. So here's what you need to do for the paper. So what I'm going to ask you to do basically is invent your own conspiracy theory, right? Your conspiracy theory has to be something current. It has to be something going on. I'm suggesting here in the instructions that you focus on something that happened at Chaffey College, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can focus on something else, but make it current. And number 2, it has to explain something that actually happened during the last, recent part of history. So I have some examples here. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we're building a new Fontana campus. So you might think about a conspiracy theory. Why are we building one? Maybe it's a breeding ground for aliens that we're going to create to make this super race to take us to the planet Glaxon or something. I don't know. I just made that up, and you can tell. The reason we moved to online courses, what the food served on campus actually is, who is really the president of the college. Maybe it's a lizard person. Maybe we've all been replaced with cyborgs, right? So, you can focus on Chaffey, or you can just do your own thing. Either way is fine, but, you know, it'd be fun to focus on Chafee. Has to be something original. You have to make this up. And, you know, again, this reminds me of the first paper where, you know, you're imagining this apocalyptic situation. The point here is not to test your creativity. If you want to be super creative, you know, go nuts and get real into it. But the point here, as we'll see, is to use specific ideas that we've been talking about. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not a creative writer, just choose one of these. That's fine, right? Who the president of the college is. Let's say the president of the college is a lizard person. There you go. And there you go. You don't have to think too hard about the creativity part if you don't want to. Your conspiracy theory has to be false, right? So remember, you're making up a phony story, and you have to follow the structure I have below. So the process I outline. Read or watch all 8 texts in this third part of the course. Just to, you know, you want to be able to use some of this stuff, come up with your own conspiracy theory. I have a proposal that we're going to work on, and that's due the week I'm recording this video. You're going to do some research. You can use all the things we've used, but you're going to need to do a little bit of research, especially for the first part where you're setting up your conspiracy theory. You're going to want to cite something that really happened in real life. You can use a newspaper article or whatnot. Let's see. You're going to put together a Wakelet version of your paper. This is basically an outline where you're going to use Wakelet to create an outline in a little more creative way. So you've all used Wakelet for your reading portfolio. Basically, I had you create what's called an annotated bibliography using Wakelet. Now we're going to use Wakelet to create your outline for essay number 2. We're going to share and discuss that in a few weeks. Then you're going to share and discuss your rough draft, and then turn that in. So that's the process. The structure of the paper. So we're using that stasis model. So there's 5, and you know there are different models of stasis theory, right? People divide these up slightly differently. I think the lecture I gave you, which I really like that lecture, but it's a slightly different. He uses slightly different terminology to break up these sections. So don't be thrown off by that. There are just different ways of structuring this, right? This is an old ancient Greek thing, and so there are different versions of it, right? So don't be thrown off by that. So anyways, your first section, this is where you set up your conspiracy theory, right? These are setting the basic facts. You're going to want some sources to support your arguments. This is where you might use like a newspaper article about something that really happened, say on campus or whatnot. Maybe like a newspaper announcement about the new Fontana campus, you know, because you're going to want to establish that something really happened in the world, and then you explain the fake version of that in your conspiracy theories. So this is, you know, a paragraph or two is your introduction, right? So you're going to want to establish something happened, and then, you know, establish that we need to do something about this, right? So it's an introductory paragraph, but some standard questions, you know, what happened? How long has it been going on? Basic facts. Your second part, you're going to deepen that and get into more detail about this, right? Describe the nature of the issue a bit more, who's involved, what kind of a problem is this, get into more, it's just adding more detail to your first part. And this is where you're going to want to use some text, maybe about discourse communities, right? Cognitive biases, talk about who's involved, why these groups are involved, some of that kind of basic detail stuff. Your third section, you're going to want to talk about the causes of this. Why do people believe this? What caused the problem? Who is involved? Why does it continue? And, you know, as I suggest here, this is a good chance to use material from week 7 or thinking about some of the material from week 7 about, you know, who believes in conspiracy theories, right? We talked, you know, that paranoid style of American politics, and, you know, the other texts we looked at that week, those would be useful. You also might think about the material we're looking at in week 9. Was it 8 or 9? I can't remember, where we're talking about, you know, who's profiting from conspiracy theories. And that's when we're watching, you know, the documentary on Alex Jones and other things. So that's your cause section. And then your quality section, you want to talk about the severity of the problem. What happens if people, if we fail to stop people from believing in this, if we don't stop people from believing in this, I should say. So you want to talk about, you know, is the problem good, bad, moral, immoral, effective. It's not really as fitting, but how severe is the problem? What are the consequences if we don't stop this conspiracy theory from spreading? Right? So you want to talk about, you know, the consequences of this conspiracy theory, and really get into the problems if we don't do anything. And then lastly, this is basically your call to action. What should we do about this problem? Who needs to do something about this, right? Who should be involved in the problem-solving process? What can we do? Again, this is your call to action. So you're setting up this conspiracy theory, then in the end, this is where you get to that rousing, here's what we need to do kind of situation. So I hope that all makes sense. The structure that we're using is just a way to really organize your ideas and work through them in this very logical way. This is a classic essay structure and a classic way, again, of talking about arguments and reaching like consensus in argumentation. So that's what we'll be using. You're going to want to use research throughout. I note here at least one source per paragraph. This is going to keep you grounded in talking about specific ideas. And you can use stuff that we've talked about. You can find stuff on your own. You're going to want to find stuff at the beginning, as I mentioned, on your own, and probably through in other sections, but you don't necessarily have to find a lot of stuff on your own. You can just use what we've been working on and use some of those ideas. Or, of course, like I said, you can reach out and find some other stuff. Anyways, that's about it for now. I've been talking for a long time. If you have any questions about this essay, please do reach out sooner rather than later. Take a look at the instructions, think through it, and do the proposal. And after you've gone through those steps, definitely reach out and we can talk about specific questions you might have. Okay, that's about it. Thank you.